Welcome back to Obscurus Gaming, and today I'm reviewing Folly of the Wizards, a lighthearted roguelike action game released just a couple of weeks ago. You'll be playing as a team of wizards, battling through randomly generated dungeons and rooms in an attempt to advance as far as you possibly can without dying. In the process, you'll be collecting relics to level up your abilities, chatting with other magical creatures, with each dungeon level eventually culminating in a boss fight. If you defeat all the smaller bosses, you will advance to the final level. And that's pretty much it. It's a formula we've all seen before, but one that generally works well. Well, spoiler alert, except in this case where there are some major execution issues, and I'll explain in a bit. When loading up the game for the first time, you're introduced very briefly to this wizard universe, but it's extremely light and thrusts you pretty much straight into the action, which is fine. You'll start with the ability to do a double jump, dash, and cast a light spell. These abilities are then upgraded over time as you clear out rooms, making you more powerful and even unlocking a more magical, stronger spell in the process. It's here where the game's first warts are shown, starting with the controls. The game maps the jump and dash buttons to L and ZL, which is so incredibly awkward with no way to really change it. Why they didn't just use the A button for jumping really makes no sense. Also, your aim is attached in a twin stick style method, which is fine on its own, but it feels a bit clunky when combined with the L jumping, and it makes for a very messy or at best awkward control scheme. Beyond the controls, the gameplay is basic but a bit more tolerable. You'll traverse the current dungeon you're in by reading a 2D map at the top, indicating where the next door will lead. It will either be a basic room that contains enemies, a room containing a magical NPC creature, or a boss. You generally want to kill as many enemies as you can to increase your currency and interact with all of the magical creatures who may be selling you something or even give you a free item. Speaking of items, the game calls these relics, which will give you a special ability. Some level up your core spellcasting stats, adding fire, ice, or other basic elements, while others will completely change your weapon. The problem that's apparent pretty much immediately with the relics is the game doesn't really tell you what they do, and with no way to change them, it's a complete guessing affair. It's honestly a complete crapshoot on whether you're getting something helpful or not. Also, one of the selling points to the gameplay is building relationships with these NPC creatures by saying things they want to hear, but every run pretty much results in the exact same dialogue and choices, and it gets old extremely fast and doesn't really add all that much to the experience in the end. Now, in combat, the game is also a mixed bag. I kind of liked how each dungeon type has its own style of enemies, and the random nature of the game keeps you guessing a bit, even if there are only a set number of room types to see. This helps add to the appeal of wanting to see what happens next, a very important aspect to these start over from scratch style games. On the negative side, there really isn't much depth, and you will feel like you've seen it all after just a few runs, and to be honest, you kinda have. One extremely annoying pet peeve of mine is when you kill an enemy or open a treasure chest, you will get a decent amount of loot, but there are so many times where the loot would bounce over to a part of the level that contains a trap, and you can't touch it without hurting yourself. There were too many times I was just trying to pick up something, an additional item, additional health, and I would end up hurting myself in the process, even costing a good run. On a more positive note, the best part about Folly of the Wizards is probably its art direction. For the most part, the game looks good, the characters have a lot of life to them, and the writing is decent. For example, every single boss is super creative, and the personality kind of jumps off the screen. The 2D cartoony graphics are almost Cuphead-esque in a way, although obviously not nearly as polished. It's simply too bad all of that is overshadowed by gameplay and design choices that are annoying at best. And unfortunately, it's not just the general gameplay, and my complaints would end there, but the game is broken at times and full of technical glitches that are either annoying or at times game breaking. The biggest of these glitches were about a half dozen soft locks where the game froze on a room and I was unable to enter the next door to continue my run. This didn't matter all that much, except one time that happened over an hour into one of my runs and just ended it with nothing I could do about it. And in that run, I had one of the best weapon sets in the game up to that point, and boom, just like that, through no fault of my own, could not proceed any further. This combined with the loot generating issue from earlier were probably the two most frustrating aspects to the gameplay. In the end, Folly of the Wizard scores a very unfortunate low 52. It really is the start to what could be a good game and has an appealing look to it. It's just hampered with some rough design choices and technical issues that make it impossible to recommend. This is a very crowded genre in general, but even derivative games in the roguelike field can be fun. This is just not it with Folly of the Wizards for a myriad of reasons. Anyways guys, do not get this game, do not recommend it, but I'll see you next time for my next review.